To stand up in the face of diversity and to fight for what you believe in is something that many people struggle to do. Nelson Mandela did just that. His devotion to humanity and humanitarian causes and leadership are what he's most well known for. Nelson Mandela perfectly exemplifies the value of equality. He fought for equality for all people, but especially those in South Africa. I've done numerous amounts of research on him and know how he fought for equality throughout his lifetime. Mandela spent 27 years in prison for standing up against a government that was committing egregious abuse against Black South Africans. During his time in prison, he was offered 3 times to be released, but he rejected all of them. He never gave up on what he believed in. Upon release, he still exercised his values of equality by displaying forgiveness and rejecting bitterness. He understood that vengeance would only hinder his goals of equality. Gary Edmonds, a writer for Food for the Hungry, quoted him and said, "Those who harbor anger are ultimately the ones who end up in bondage." On May 10, 1994, Nelson Mandela was inaugurated as South Africa's first democratically elected president. He stood to unite a country whose racial divides were deeply rooted in its culture. He made efforts to build strong interracial relationships and break down barriers that divided South Africa by his love for sports. The South African rugby team consisted of all white men except for one. Nelson Mandela went to training grounds where the team was practicing. He learned all of the team's names to address them personally. He then challenged the team to go into the most impoverished areas in South Africa and to put on coaching clinics for kids. This example of world-class white athletes pouring their hearts into young Black children set the stage for what Mandela had in mind for the kind of country he hoped would prosper in the future. In 1962, Mandela was arrested and charged with high treason, along with many other people. This came to be known as the Rivonia trial. In 2013, according to the National Public Radio, he said, "I've dedicated my life to the struggle of the African people." In his speech, he stated that he is prepared to die. He cherished the idea of a democratic and free society in which all people will live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. This all occurred during the Rivonia trial and is a great example of him fighting for equality. Nelson Mandela allowed people to see themselves as more than just race. In conclusion, he lived in the belief that every person can and should create positive change. Everyone can do something. It doesn't have to be a large act of heroism. I believe that Nelson Mandela achieved his dream of bringing equality to South Africa and hope that one day the entire world will follow his suit.